Paul Shimoni and Brian Travis. Are there any announcements?
No.
All right, seeing none, any comments, suggestions, petitions by residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda? Item 4, reports. Director's report on monthly financials. Ms. Barb Leonti.
You ready? Page 4. Page 4. There we go. All right, so as of April 30th, the general fund is sitting at a net income of $3,498,473. Looking at the revenue highlights, real estate taxes have gone very well for 2025. I think it was a much better improvement over last year. And I'd like to give my staff a great big shout out. I think having a dedicated employee she did a tremendous job, as well as our staff accountant that helped her with all of the deposits. They made this year much better than it was last year. Prior real estate taxes are also doing well compared to last year. This budget line item is actually over budget, and I think one of the big reasons for that is that we sent a higher than normal amount over to Portnoy because of the switch from the county to the borough collecting. I think there was some confusion there. Business privilege is also doing better than budget, and interest earnings are also doing very well. We have booked $52,000 through April 30th on a $100,000 budget. So looking at the expenses for the general fund, everything seems to be in line, but I do want to caution about the housing department. While I do know that they are in transition right now, building permits, mechanical and electrical permits seem to be trailing revenues at this point in time, a little bit lighter than what I would hope for through April 30th. We did put some big numbers in the revenue line items to help offset some of the third-party costs, and expenses are still coming in, so we need those revenues to catch up to be able to pay those bills. If we could move over to page 16, please. Looking at the special revenue funds, the fire, liquid fuels, and stream protection, through April 30th, the fund is sitting at a net income of $1,331,422. We did just finish up our 4-year audit with the Auditor General's Office for liquid fuels. You all should be receiving that report probably within the next month or two. We did have 2 audit findings. The first one was for late deposit of our annual liquid fuels allocation. That allocation is due to hit our bank account on April 1st, but it is dependent on certain forms that have to be filled out by us in early March and late March. And in that time period, we were a little tardy on some of those things, so our deposits didn't hit until mid to late April. And then the second finding that we had was non-conformity of purchasing of the salt purchases. We discussed that last month. The 2024 issue of $44,000 that was spent out of the liquid fuels fund that was not in conformity with the purchasing policy. We did make that transfer, but we had the same issue in 2022 that was under audit. So we will be coming to the committee in either next month or the month after to transfer $33,000 for the 2022 year. Moving over to page 20. The enterprise funds, wastewater and parking. Wastewater is booked a net income of $23,939, and the parking fund booked a net income of $531,610. The wastewater net income is a little lighter than what I would expect at this point in time. As I've talked about for the past 3 months, there's a lot of expenses that the fund is going through this month in capital. We are working to bring as much money in as we can. I just transferred $1.5 million from idle sewer cash in the Santander fund that is not earning interest over to Pliget. So hoping that we can pick up some of the earnings there to help out the fund. We have been transferring our sewer balances over to Portnoy, but they seem to be more able to handle annual collections. So that's sort of the next thing on my plate, is to figure out what we can do to get some of these 90+ day balances paid up. We are sending out monthly letters, but I just want to make sure that, you know, the fund's going to be in good standing come the end of the year.
Barb, is that typical that we would be lagging on the receivables for the sewer fund?
Yeah, we've had issues with sewer receivables for years, and
Okay.
we've sent them to Portnoy for collections. We've sent them for liens. I'm just concerned that, you know, that there's expenses that this fund has to pay, and we have to have the money coming in. So I'm just trying to do everything in my power to make sure that those balances don't get any higher than what they are now.
Yeah, and I kind of heard that maybe in between the lines that maybe we should be looking at another credit agency to look for, not credit agency, but collections agency.
Yeah.
Is that something you're thinking about?
That's going to be my next to-do item, because I thought that, you know, my goal was to get all of these each month and send them to Portnoy and then have the letters go out, but they kind of put a stop to that. They can't, I think based on legalities on their end, they can't do that. It's more, they would rather have it annually, and I don't want to do it annually. I want it to be a monthly thing where we're following through, trying to, you know, get as much money as we can in. And I feel like if we do 90 days plus, you know, people can pay smaller balances than the bigger ones. So.
Makes sense. Thank you.
One final comment for the parking fund. I am still cautiously optimistic about the garage revenue. We did post another good month for that. So there's some confidence that those numbers will meet what our budget is. And then just looking forward to ahead into the month of June, our field work has relatively ended for our audit. The one big thing that we're still looking to finish up, we still need the 24 financials from the actuary. They have all the information that they need. It's in review at this point in time. So we need that in the valuation, and we are expected to get that by sometime next week. And once we get that, we can get that over to the auditors and then get the employee pension statements out to the employees. And then we're going to start working on the budget. My first goal is to work on our chart of accounts to get that in conformity with the DCED, because I want to lay the groundwork to apply for a GFOA Distinguished Budget Award. We're not there yet. I think we need probably 2 to 3 years, but I want to start the framework now so that the work is easier when we get there. And then in July, we're going to start the whole budget process. Everyone will need to have their, you know, their information to us, and then we'll be steaming ahead with that. So are there any questions?
I just say you guys have done so much with the budget. I hope this award, like, that you'll get to it and get there, because I think you guys have made so many improvements over the.
I think it'll be a good thing for the borough. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Barb. Any public comment? All right, thank you very much. Old business, approve April 2025 meeting minutes. Any objections? Public comment? Let's discuss the Christmas parade, discount support and fees for the 2025 parade.
Good evening. Is this on? Can you hear me? Katie Walker with the Greater Westchester Chamber of Commerce. I am here tonight to provide a little bit of an update on the return of the 2025 Christmas parade in the borough of Westchester, and just want to thank council, the mayor, and borough staff for their continued support and partnership as we look to continue to bring this tradition back to our community. I know that the three of you have heard my spiel many times now, but if you don't mind, I would like to just kind of reiterate a little bit more information about the chamber itself and how we operate this event. As you know, and as I've stated many times, the chamber is funded primarily through membership dues from local businesses, as well as support from sponsorships of programs and events. The Greater Westchester Chamber of Commerce has served as the presenting organization of several holiday events in town, most notably the Christmas Parade, which was started back in the 1980s as a way to help with the revitalization of downtown Westchester. In addition to the parade, the chamber also leads the efforts of installing the Christmas tree on the lawn of the historic courthouse, and might be notable to let everybody know that we actually purchased a new Christmas tree this year, and we were able to afford the purchase for that tree from some very generous private donors to the chamber so that we could make that purchase. In addition, we also bring together nearly 200 volunteers every year that help to decorate the storefronts throughout town with the holiday greens. We organize a toy drive that benefits several local borough-based nonprofit organizations. And since 2020, during the pandemic, we brought Chester County Hospital Lights Up Holiday Weekends to Westchester, which features the professional lighting, the majority of the professional lighting and the festive decor throughout the downtown. The programs that we run, including the parade, including the lights, including the tree, are solely possible through sponsorship support from businesses and organizations. Some of them are located here in the borough, such as Oakborn Advisors, Westchester University, and the Masters Baker, just to name a few of those local ones. But I think it's important to mention, and I don't think I've ever mentioned this before publicly in speaking to council, the majority of the businesses, if you look at our landing page where we recognize all of our sponsors, that write checks to the chamber for us to be able to afford this are actually not even located in the borough, that are paying for lights, that are paying for a program that happens in a town that they're the planning and fundraising and logistics for these events represents a major investment of time and resources. The chamber staff and board dedicate approximately 2,000 hours of our time over about 10 months of work every year to deliver these programs. That equates to roughly $80,000 in personnel cost, with an additional $130,000 in expenses to produce the events themselves. We are proud that all of these programs, including the parade, are free to the public and continue to bring joy to the residents and visitors alike. Quick snapshot of what we're planning for 2025. $40,000 worth of professionally installed lights will go up in mid-November and stay lit through January. The holiday greens, as I mentioned, will be hung on November 22nd, storefronts throughout the borough by over 200 volunteers that are recruited and organized by the chamber. The Christmas tree will go up on November 29th. It will be decorated with ornaments from over 70 local nonprofit organizations. The parade will take place, God willing, on December 5th with 80 parade elements, 13 marching bands, float competitions, appearances from local celebrities, and supported by over 150 volunteers. Santa will come through on a fire truck every Saturday, thanks to First Westchester Fire Company. Photos with Santa will be organized on December 13th, in addition to music performances at the courthouse steps as part of the Christmas market that has now become a traditional holiday event here in town. And the gingerbread house competition will run from November through January. These are significant community touch points that benefit our community, including numerous businesses. I would say notably our retail shops in town who depend on the foot traffic during the holiday shopping season. In addition to the businesses that benefit, we believe that the residents, majority, do enjoy this event. They line the streets with their families. They take part in the festivities. They make memories that last a lifetime and do express to us over and over again how much they love the tradition of the Christmas parade itself. I thought it was important to just bring a little bit of context to, I know that we've talked a lot of numbers in terms of what we had paid in 22 and 23 for borough-related services for the Christmas parade. But I did a little bit of research just to bring that information to you and went back to 2017. And for context, 2017, 2018, and 2019 were the years of we'll call it the QVC parade. QVC was the title sponsor of that parade. At the time, I was not with the chamber at that time. Mark Yoder was the president of the organization. We also had a professional parade producer, and we had nearly, I think, 110 elements in that parade. So the parade was much longer than it is now. I think it was going on like a 2.5-hour parade. It was a much bigger operation. We had the Jingle Elf Run. We had a market that was taking place on High Street. I was not able to locate invoices for borough services, but I was able to look back in our QuickBooks financials to see what our payment was to the borough in those years during the QVC parade. In 2017, our payment to the borough was $9,733. 2018, it was $9,380. 2018, it was $9,300. 2019, it was about $9,800. We did not have a parade, obviously, in 2020 or 2021. In 2021, we just did the tree lighting ceremony, which was a much smaller closure of streets in the footprint of town. That was about a $3,300 bill. In 22, council approved that 50% reduction in parade fees. So our bill was around a little under $5,000. 23, same arrangement, again, a little under $5,000. And then in 2024, with that 50% discount removed and some changes, although event fees changed, the final invoice before a $1,300 reduction in parking revenue was $17,998. So I don't quite understand the big difference between what essentially was a much larger parade in 17, 18, and 19. I don't know if there's any history that we can dig back in through the borough to find out that difference, but I just thought it was important for you to have those numbers in mind when the chamber's considering almost an 82% increase from when we were operating this parade pre-pandemic to our current year. So again, just that side note, I thought that was important for you to have that information. So brings me to the primary reason why I'm here tonight. And the chamber is asking for your support, not only for 2025, but hopefully ahead in future years as a key partner in delivering these events here in the borough. And that would be to ensure the long-term sustainability and tradition of the event so that the chamber can continue to bring this event to us. And we're requesting that council consider a $20 special event parking fee that would be applied to the borough managed garages along with the flat lots that could help us to reduce that bill that we receive from the borough for their services.
Thank you. Any comments?
Yeah, my big comment is it seems like we stopped supporting the parade. I mean, it's pretty evident by the numbers that we stopped supporting it. I don't know how we stopped supporting it, but for your expenses to go double when your parade got smaller, the only thing that I can think of is that we are not contributing. Right?
Well, I mean, I see your point, the 82% increase. I mean, I'm for the $20 fee, especially for this
Yeah, that's
particular.
still not going to
Yeah.
make.
Well, I understand that, but there is another alternative, and that is including Westchester Borough as a sponsor and putting this in the budget in years to come. I know that's going to set a precedent, but, you know, I'm sure the taxpayers want a Christmas parade. We want a Christmas parade. The downtown, the businesses want a Christmas parade. And, you know, that's where I'm at.
So
Ms. Shimoni, go ahead.
So I mean, I kind of recall a similar conversation with the Chili Fest sponsor where they kind of had a shocker surprise expense as well. We lost the sponsor, the Rotary Club. I'm not sure why they left. Did it have anything to do with these expenses?
It had a lot to do with the people, the manpower, if you want, to run the event.
You have an all volunteer club that was running that event. I mean, I have a little bit of context there because I was a member of that club for years helping to run the event. So I don't think that they ever stated that it was borough expenses. I think that was more of a burnout of the club running the event.
Okay.
And I will say, you know, the numbers that I'm stating are accurate in terms of what I'm seeing in our QuickBooks and our financials, but I don't have an invoice to indicate if there was any special arrangement on those invoices that was bringing that cost down to under $10,000 at that time. So the borough may have been supporting in some way, but what I'm stating is that it was a much more reasonable expense in those years where the parade was also bigger. I mean, one of the things that I experienced when I came back to the chamber in 21 were conversations with the police asking us to stop doing the Jingle Elf Run and the market or expo fair, I don't know what you want to call it, that they were doing on High Street between Gay and Market during the parade, which was causing, you know, significant crowds and maybe some, you know, struggles for the police that evening. So we agreed to cut those things, but that also cuts into what we can fundraise for. You know, there was money that we were raising to help cover costs for police when we had something like the Jingle Elf Run that was bringing in revenue. That expo or that market or whatever you want to call it was helping us in terms of sponsor benefit so that we could go out and raise more money in sponsorship. So we stepped back and said, okay, we're going to reduce the size of this event. We're going to have less entries. We're going to make it, you know, try to lessen the, you know, the burden on the people that we are inconveniencing that night, because we do know the inconveniences that we cause in shutting the streets down. We're very aware of that. We do our very best, especially in the staging area, for example. We put out the week prior, I walk around with hundreds and hundreds of flyers that we're putting into mailboxes and indoors and making sure that we try our best to communicate with the residents that we know we're being disruptive that night, but trying our best to give them, you know, all of the information that they need for that evening.
So I'm all for supporting the parade. I think it's a huge win for the borough. It brings tons of people here, lifts all the boats with the businesses and all that good stuff. I also am not against the $20 ask. I think that it, like when we were redoing fees, it kind of half came up, but then we didn't really talk about it and stuff.
Right.
I think my biggest thought is however we do this, however we find a way to support it, we craft it in a way that we don't end up with, like the reason we stabilized our fees to begin with this past year was because everybody that was having any kind of event just kept coming to us and asking for discounts. So there was no fee. It was just there's fees and then everybody got some form of discount and it was unregulated, if you will, right? So if we do something, I think we have to structure it in a way that highlights the specialness of what the Christmas parade brings to the town above and beyond some of the other things that we do. Not that they're not all special, like in everything is, we have these events because all of them do something positive for the borough. But if we're going to try to do something to work with you and support this event because it is such a big win for the entire borough, I think we just have to be thoughtful about how it's structured and what it looks like so that it's not something that other events come to us and then we end up falling back into those old habits of just not keeping ourselves, not even covering our own costs, if you will.
Sure.
That's my 2 cents.
I think part of, yeah, I mean, and just building on what you were saying about covering our own costs, I think we were supporting it with our manpower. So we were incurring some of those costs and now we're not.
And I wonder if it goes back to maybe QVC just put a big chunk of money. I'm assuming they did, right? And so maybe like the money, or I don't know if we charged QVC too, or,
I don't know. I mean, from what our financials look like, that was just the invoice that we received. That wouldn't have reflected that in our QuickBooks, right? So that was the check that we wrote to the borough. Again, I didn't have paper invoices. I looked for them. So I don't know if there was any kind of special arrangement on those invoices in those years.
Katie, if I may, Mr. Metric or Ms. Leonte, do you have any information about previous parades regarding financials from the borough itself? Correct, right. I think that would be helpful. And I think that would be helpful as well, because no one wants to see the parade go away. And again, the other alternative too, and we would be setting a precedent, but putting it in the budget for years to come would be, hey, listen, this is what $15,000 is, and it'll be the Westchester and Westchester Chamber of Commerce Christmas parade itself.
Mhm.
I don't see that as a huge issue, and I don't think the public would see that as a huge issue. But that's something that we should probably discuss, Mr. Metric, I think, moving forward as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can appreciate Nicole's comments that, you want to set up almost some type of policy, right? Like I get that there's a lot of people that want to have events in downtown Westchester. It's a great town and it's a great backdrop to have an event. And I understand that your reasoning behind trying to set things as standard for everything is that you don't have these one-offs of organizations coming to you and asking for, special consideration. I do get that. I will say that I think for organizations like the Chamber and like downtown Westchester, we're established in this borough. We've been here for, our chamber's been around for over 100 years. We've been located in this borough and we've been running this Christmas parade for over 40 years. So I think it's, that consistency too in partnership that we can point to. But I agree with you that having something more formal, I don't know if it's an MOU that we can establish, that there's that partnership between the chamber and the borough, I think would go a long way. Because I will say that, as I talk to council members and people that have been around for a while, we've been having this same conversation with council for years, and at some point I would love to not have to come back to you and keep saying the same thing over and over again, and come up with some type of arrangement that we can agree to moving forward.
And I totally agree. And if you think about it realistically, we're only fighting over a couple $1,000. Is there any public comment? Public comment? All right. With that, I think Mr. Metric and Ms. Leonte is going to work on this. We should look at this again in June. I think we're probably in agreement, us three, about a $20 fee, looking at the fee structure again, just for the Christmas parade.
Mhm.
And then the possibility of putting this in the budget for years to come
Right.
to avoid this situation every year.
Yeah. And I'm happy to be part of those conversations and help to work through that. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Item B here, motion to approve a grant resolution, DCED Flood Mitigation Program. Resolution for grant application for Phase 2 of Westchester Stormwater Infrastructure Repair. Mr. Williams.
Thanks. You guys know the drill on this. Resolution included with every grant application. This is a $500,000 ask. About a year and a half ago, we, using some of our new software tools, inventoried all of our remaining brick storm sewers. We had a major collapse over on North New Street, maybe 3 summers ago. Road close, 6-figure costs to replace that, weeks of disruption to the neighborhood. So relining buys us time. It buys us several decades of time, and is the most cost-effective way to reduce the risk of future collapses. So about a year ago, we put in a grant application. We got $200,000. We're going to do about $300,000 of that work, $300,000 of work, including the $200,000 grant later this year. We're going all in. One more ask to try to get some dollars to do the rest of it. I will make one change on this before next week. We've already change the name of the project to make it sound like something that's fun and grant fundable instead of stormwater infrastructure repair phase 2 project. So we'll try to make that a little sexier.
Thank you. Any comments on the dais? Public comment? Any objection? All right, we could call that a 3-0 decision here. Item C, motion to approve grant resolution, DCD. This is Greenways Trails Recreation in support of future John O'Green Park projects.
Yes. Similar to what Will stated, this is a DCD grant. This is an 85-15 minimum split between the borough and the Department of Economic Development. If we were to get the full grant amount of $250,000, the borough match would be 37.5. Again, we're going to be asking for the full amount, but we won't know what we actually get probably until the early first quarter of 2026. So we're basically just asking if it's okay if we can apply to get some free money to help upgrade that park.
I got no problem with that. Any public comment? We call that a 3-0. So thank you, Keith. And then a motion to approve grant resolution for People Parks Community Foundation for John O'Green Splash Pad Rehabilitation.
This is actually, these should have been reversed. This is actually phase 1 of the project we're looking at. This is already budgeted for this year. I believe we've $65,000 or $70,000 budgeted. I saw this grant, this group, the People Parks and Community is like a subsidiary of the Pennsylvania Parks and Rec Society. They put out a grant application and we're going to apply for it. There is no match. They're just willing to give out money up to $30,000. We're going to work on 2 plans, one for the money we have budgeted and one for that is $30,000 more. So if we get the grant, and this grant will be awarded in September, October at the latest of this year is when we also plan to do the work. So we'll be simultaneously putting the scope together in further detail along with the grant application and just keeping our fingers crossed.
Thank you. Any objection?
No, but I wanted to say something. I heard you with the spiel last night, and I love, the idea of trying to make this splash park bigger and better and cooler and getting some money to do that. I mean, when, we've got the parks, the team, the consultants that are looking at all our parks and everything. And, they talk to all of us. And when I was having the conversation with them, we talked about, kind of each park having its own flavor in our borough. And like this, John O'Green it's the splash park, and it should be making a splash as the splash park. And people should be like going there as a destination to kind of enjoy that water feature. And so I love that you guys have the opportunity to make it a little bigger.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's the whole plan behind this. The folks that are doing the pros plan from JMT, we've made an emphasis that this is the first park or the park that needs the most attention coming out of this plan. So they've done a little extra work, no extra cost to the borough to get those plans together. We've already set up meetings with the groups. They don't have an official friends group per se. We've already had a meeting with them to discuss the proposed ideas, and we're working on setting up another one. But this is going to go a long way in getting that park back to where we need it to be.
Thank you. Any objection? Any public comment? Any objection?
Thank you.
Thank you. Call that 3-0. Item E, approved budget modification number 4 for grant funding expenses for hoses for the fire department.
So this budget modification request is to add $30,000 to the cash reserve line item. We did receive this grant funding at the end of 2024, but it was not included in the budget. And we did not have the expense included as well. This funding came through the PA-DCED COVID-19 ARPA, and it was to buy standardized fire hoses for all 3 companies. And the purchasing request is under item F for MES. And it's a little under $29,000.
Thank you. Thank you. It's item F under G. Item F under G. As well. Is there any public comment? Any objection on the dais? 3-0. All right. Item F, motion to approve the following. Big Belly Solar, $11,976. That's trash and recycling units. Muni Billing, $18,014.40. That's for software. Univar, $12,709.50. Soda ash to treat the sewage. USALCO, $12,835.20. That's phosphorus removal. Watch Keep, $17,950.26. That's for disaster recovery. Good Fellowship Club of Chester County, $86,763.21. That's the ambulance invoice. And finally, MES, which we just discussed, $29,968.75. Hoses for the fire company. Any public comment about those purchases? Daryl?
Oh, go. Well, I was going to give a shout out to Daryl, actually, because of the Big Belly. If you recall, a couple of months ago, we were proposed a bunch of Big Bellies that cost, I don't remember how, it was like $40,000 or $50,000, I thought, if I recall. I should have looked it up, but it's significantly more. And Daryl had called out that, do we really use the solar function on all of them around town? And the answer was, actually, after Don did some research, no. And he looked into it and he was able to get replacement trash cans for a lot less money because we didn't need the solar function on all of these trash cans. So that was my shout out to Daryl. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. And I did see you at the hot dog eating contest. You did not participate, but I did see you there as well. Any objections on the dais for those following purchases? All right, seeing none, 3-0. Other business, other business. Any other business? Motion to adjourn, 6:06.